Good evening, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. The monster they created. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Biden's chances for re-election are nosediving, and his campaign is getting very nervous. CNN describes the uneasiness that many Democrats feel about a president whose age is twice his approval rating. And this from Axios describing how private polls show the same hurdle as public ones: brutally low popularity on the topics that matter most to voters. Now, Biden's getting crushed on his handling of immigration, crime, and inflation. It's not death by one issue, but by a half dozen at once. And it gets worse because he's even managing to alienate his strongest voting blocs. His unwavering support for Israel, which has been America's policy for many decades, even during their bloody counteroffensive against Hamas, is turning off a big chunk of both younger voters and is also at odds with many African-American voters. A recent Quinnipiac poll found that 51% of voters under 35 say they disapprove of the United States sending weapons and military support to Israel. That's a much higher figure than the 28% of Americans who oppose such a policy. Now, the CBS News poll conducted earlier was even worse for Biden. 59% of respondents under 30 said the U.S. should not send weapons and supplies to Israel. And for those between the ages of 30 and 44, 64% said the U.S. should not. Now, these age groups were key to Biden's election in 2020. And given these and other terrible signs for the administration, it's about time someone asked Joe's understudy a tough question.
A recent CBS poll found that at the beginning of President Biden's term, 70% of young people, people under 30, said he was doing a good job. Now it's less than 50%. Why is that?
If you poll how young people feel about the climate and the warming of our planet, it polls as one of their top concerns. The challenge that we have as an administration is we got to let people know who brung it to them. That's our challenge. But it is not that the work we are doing is not very, very popular with a lot of people.
Now, think about what Vice President Cackles is saying there. People are super happy, but they just don't know how super happy they are. Wow. Speaking of being in denial.
The world is on fire, one would argue. Joe Biden just went into a second extremely difficult hot war zone and dealt with world leaders, sat in on a war cabinet meeting in Israel, is able to navigate relationships that he has developed over decades, and yet it's going to be close between these two guys?
Now, the man in 2.5 years took us from peace and prosperity to war and inflation. And over at MSNBC, they're shocked that he's not soaring in the polls? Now, of course, the press is just mad that their narrative didn't stick. Because during the tussle over the speaker's race, of course, they hammered the Republicans that they're hopelessly divided. That theme went on and on. But the truth is, the real discord is between Democrat voters and Democrat policies, especially on the war issue, which the publication Vox cites as Biden's major vulnerability. The perception of Biden's ownership of this war will only grow as Israel expands and extends its siege of Gaza. That's bad for Biden's electability, with so many young American voters increasingly critical of his unfettered backing of Israel. Now, who makes up the Democrats' anti-Israel, anti-war coalition? Well, many of the same types of voters who went door to door for Joe in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania. That's who.
I feel like that whatever Hamas did was for a good cause, to get back our land.
We know that the Palestinian people have been so resilient in the face of many invasions like this, and we hope that Palestine will continue to fight for their right to be free.
Israel bombs, USA pays. How many kids did you kill today? Israel bombs, USA pays. How many kids did you kill today? Palestine to Mexico.
Now, for years now, the Democrats have been trying to hold together what's ultimately an unwieldy coalition of the old Clinton types, who are always eager for U.S. military action, and the anti-American lefties that we saw in the summer of 2020 and now, once again, in the pro-Hamas protests across the U.S. The current situation in the Middle East is straining that coalition in ways that could cost Biden enormously in 2024. Trump, who's staunchly pro-Israel but still a pragmatist on foreign policy, is already pulling some young voters from Biden. Republicans, they should not bail out the Democrats by nominating a candidate who would just greenlight the funding of not one, not two, but 3 wars at one time. Why create a political escape hatch for the Democrats by doing that? I say let them instead face what they themselves created: a Frankenstein coalition of anti-American, anti-Israel, and anti-Semitic fanatics. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.